The timeline of events of September 11th, 2001, narrated by Torren, Overby. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, most families started their day like any other. People woke up, ate their breakfast, and got their children to school or headed to work. Little did they know that at 8:46 a.m., the history of America as we know it would change forever. On September 11th, 2001, under the orders of al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, 19 Islamic extremists hijacked 4 commercial American airlines to carry out a suicide terrorist attack on the United States. This deadly attack was allegedly carried out in retaliation of America's support for Israel, Americans' involvement in the Persian Gulf War, and the continued military involvement in the Middle East. The nationality of these hijackers ranged from all over the Middle East, from Egypt to Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Many had already been in the United States for years, some for months, and had taken flying classes at the commercial flying institutes all over the United States. These attacks triggered the war on terrorism and essentially defined the presidency of George W. Bush. At 8:46 a.m., a Boeing 767 American Airlines Flight 11, which was loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel and traveling from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The plane hit just above the 80th floor of the 110-story skyscraper, immediately killing hundreds and trapping hundreds more on the higher floors. This plane was hijacked and piloted by plot leader Mohammed Atta. Initially, mainstream media was broadcasting what they thought was a freak accident. 18 minutes later, the unimaginable happened. A second Boeing 67, United Airlines 175, sliced through the South Tower of the World Trade Center near the 60th floor. Hijacker Marwan al-Shahi led this plane into the tower. Flight 175 was also traveling from Boston to Los Angeles. Before long, the South Tower completely collapsed into a cloud of smoke, taking hundreds of more lives with it. At 10:30 a.m., the North Tower followed closely behind. Approximately 3,000 people lost their lives in the World Trade Center and its vicinity. 10,000 more were treated for injuries, many severe. Only 6 people survived this attack. While the catastrophic terrorist attack was being taken out in New York City, another was happening in Washington, D.C. American Airlines Flight 77 was deliberately crashed by hijacker Hani Hanjour, originally traveling from Dulles, Virginia to Los Angeles. Flight 77 crashed into the west side of the Pentagon military headquarters at 9:45 a.m. 125 military personnel and civilians died, as well as all 64 occupants aboard Flight 77. At 10:03 a.m., United Flight 93 was hijacked by Ziad Jarrah. It was traveling from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco, California. This flight was different from all the others. Because of delayed takeoff, passengers learned of the events in New York City and Washington, D.C. They planned an ambush to take down the hijackers. The passengers are suspected to have attacked the cockpit with a fire extinguisher. The plane flipped and crashed into a field in western Pennsylvania. All 45 people aboard were killed. Although the intended target was not known, the White House was suspected. By 7 p.m., President George W. Bush returned to the White House after being shuttled around the country due to safety concerns. By 9 p.m., he televised an address from the Oval Office. He was quoted saying, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundation of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve." This quote still stands today as one of the most monumental quotes of his presidency. Because of September 11th, often referred to as 9/11, Operation Enduring Freedom was put into place. Operation Enduring Freedom is an American-led international effort to overthrow the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. This began on October 7th, 2001. The Taliban was removed from operational power within just 2 months, but the war continued. There was also a manhunt for years for the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks, Osama bin Laden. He was tracked down by U.S. forces on May 2, 2011, and killed. After the assassination of Osama bin Laden, the new president, Barack Obama, withdrew most of the troops from Iraq. Since that fateful day in 2001, America has continued to rebuild. There's now a memorial monument lovingly called Ground Zero, where the Twin Towers once stood. People travel to New York every year to visit the memorial and to take time to remember the lives that were lost on that Tuesday morning. There have also been new safety precautions taken by airports and TSA all over the nation, and there are also stricter laws on the process to get into the USA. September 11th, 2001 will never be forgotten by the American people and will stand as one of the deadliest